recording this, we're going to share this to the group page at the video we're making right
Mhm.
now. And I think that's that's what we were talking about earlier, like the idea of this could help bridge that gap, right? So like so
Yeah.
we'll send a link to Brian to this video on the Slack page, and I think that if we develop that as like an SOP with protocol within our development team, I think these videos
Mhm.
can make a huge difference in multiple ways as well. Obviously we're all kind of doing in a similar situation where we're looking for ways to expand our capabilities, to learn, to grow, to be part of community. And I think it'd be really good for us to begin to really focus on implementing strategies like what we're doing right now into our active workflows. Um, Now I want to look under the hood with you together on this video
Mhm.
and kind of walk through a couple, some of that. I think that's powerful. I mean, this is I from what you've shown me, this is a really great application. I was going to tell you something else, but I can't remember what it was at this point. Oh,
Sound good?
I was going to say you know, I've been in a process of, you know, getting rid of a lot of different accounts that I have on different websites. I actually just went through and just because it's so much, it's like Meetup, it's it's uh Eventbrite, it's this, it's that, it's all these different. So I'm like getting rid of applications, accounts on third party services as much as possible. And that's kind of
Yeah.
where we are as well as a community. It's like, yes, Eventbrite is highly functional. It's uh accessible, so is Meetup. Um, but at some point it's like microservices are great, but at some point you have got so many microservices that you just can't. It just becomes you're constantly getting notifications from different microservices. You're constantly having to configure settings on all these different services, and there's admin roles that almost becomes impossible. I think that's one of the bottlenecks we're experiencing as a community. It's like we've got Eventbrite, we've got Meetup, and we've got all these different groups that need to have all these different, you know, authorizations to create events, and we have to connect all of that. So maybe our goal needs to be on focusing on consistently lowering consistently lowering our microservices integrations as quickly as consistently as possible and iteratively as possible, and moving towards more of a monolithic code based structure. And I think Astro framework really does set the stage for that. um
Mhm.
Maybe we as a community, maybe we need to discuss, how we're leveraging these different platforms and to what extent we should be, as we're, that's definitely part of the conversation we're talking about. Like, how do we streamline, we have a big bottleneck with these events, where we, with all these the different configurations. So it's like I think Astro there's a real opportunity for us to develop our own events kind of like infrastructure, and maybe figure out, maybe it might be easier to feed out the infrastructure to those third party resources rather than trying to coordinate ex and rather than administering from those third party microservices and pushing back to us. That seems to be a big headache. We could probably just build our own event management platform within the ecosystem and build out our own infrastructure to push that data out rather than trying to take data out. And we maybe build we can build it as like an AI first, with like an AI first layer that can that we can use to push data out to these different services. Just some food for thought.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that like using like Eventbrite and Meetup, like yeah, it's nice because like they're big platforms, but at the end of the day, like I feel that people that want to like come to the events, like anything that the ODES or all the subgroups put on, they're all local. So like a Google search, if like it pings in to be like, oh yeah, the ODES, it's like Orlando developers, like if they have like a good website that they can come to and reference, like, oh, like these events are coming through, or like this is like uh what the developers of the local area are trying to like put on, like to me that'd be a more valuable thing because like realistically, other than like the big like a sequel Saturday or like Tampa Day, like DevOps days and whatnot, like things that like affect more than just the Orlando, greater Orlando area. Like those events I see putting them like an Eventbrite or Meetup, because those affect more than just Orlando. But like for the local meetups, like the DevOps meetups, like the Orlando JS, the Pythonistas groups and whatnot, like those are all local. So like people that are going to be looking at those events are not necessarily like looking at it like nationwide. So it would be pretty cool to just have our own, yeah, like you're saying, like having our own kind of like a event set up where like, because again, like the people are going to be attending these are all local. So like there's no real need for like a third party like Meetup or Eventbrite and like put in all those events. I mean, like obviously they have a further reach than this website might have, but yeah, like as far as like for local events, it would probably make more sense putting it here. And then I was thinking maybe like having like a announcements tab or whatever where like if there's a last minute cancellation, like I think it was like the ODevs like autumn meetup and whatnot, there was a last minute cancellation and like they said something on Slack, but then like in Eventbrite, it didn't have like what'd you say, like a comment that's like, oh, like this has been canceled, whatever. So like a lot of people are reaching out on Slack and say, hey, this is still going on. If we could have something that like notifies people, they could just go to this website and it's like, hey, this event has been canceled. This is the reason. Bam. Like everyone can access it pretty quickly instead of like, oh, is this a bug that like Eventbrite canceled this event for some reason? And like not having that information, I feel like if we can have like the events here and like, hey, it's been canceled, hey, it notifies you immediately and like have like a notification like tab that's like, oh, why was it canceled? And just put the reason there.
So I want to yeah, you're 100% correct. We I think it would be kind of cool for us to be able to have like if when a user goes to the events page for them to see a calendar and the calendar has well we could do this very easily with something like Google Calendar. We could create a Google Calendar on a primary
Mhm.
and by the I'm just throwing this out there so if you the whole point of this is ideas. If you know a better way we can do this or other integrations that we can use to streamline this, but I'm thinking as MVP goes, we could basically just create a calendar. Um, let's see here. We could basically create a Google like essentially like a Google Calendar if we want to go with Google, and then we can create sub calendars for each group, and then give specific whoever is in charge of that group can have access to that sub calendar. So edit access. And then what we can do is we can make those calendars publicly available. So then we can embed a Google Calendar in the events page, and that Google Calendar will show all the events on the calendar automatically populated. So when the group host who has edit privileges on that sub calendar creates an event on that calendar, it will show up on the main calendar, which will show up on the main feed. Then
Yeah, I definitely like that.
then what could happen is people can subscribe to that Google Calendar if they want to follow Orlando Devs. So that way it's automatically injecting into our calendars without having to check the website or anything. We'll automatically see any updates or changes directly reflected into our calendars. I think Google Calendar is the way to go because it is the most universally available and integrated, in my opinion, in many ways, and also simplicity as well. Um, with
Yeah,
web first infrastructure, it's more streamlined for these purposes in many ways. Um, but basically, we would have a calendar, so then people could subscribe to that calendar, and they could also go to the site and view that calendar integrated into it, and that would have all updated reflected information. So that way, if a change happens to it, so if I see an event I want to go to, I can just RSVP by clicking on that event and choosing RSVP or add to my calendar or whatever. You can do and then users will automatically get notifications of any changes to those events if they are RSVP'd to the event.
yeah. I mean, that definitely, and I also like that idea having the calendar that you can see because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, it's like I'm just gonna click on going to an event and then like it's like, oh, what day was it? But like having like a calendar there and like having all the events kind of gives you an idea. It's like how like stacked like one week is or like how like kind of barren another week is and like that might give like the other admins for the groups kind of like an idea. It's like, oh, like there's three meetups this week and next 2 weeks there's nothing. So like maybe push back the meetup for that group to one of those other weeks. So like people have something to go to weekly or have the options to go to it weekly. Cause I mean, even me like still like in the job hunt or whatever, and like trying to get out as many as these, like realistically, I'm only gonna go to like two like events per week. So like having like and like the other admins seeing it's like, hey, it's like this week is like has a lot of like events going. Like a lot of people are just gonna choose maybe one or two. And that way like you can generate more turnout with people like kind of like spacing it out and just having people it's like, oh yeah, it's like this week I'll go for this event, like meetup, and then next week I can go to this meetup. Like, because yeah, I mean, like people realistically, like once they're out of work or like get done with work, I'm pretty sure that they want to like go home, relax, and spend times with friends. So a lot of people are not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to like three meetups this week. Like, hey, it's like I might go to one or two, but then I want to spend some time like with my friends, like going out, hanging out, whatever. And then like if again it's like the admin sees like, oh, it's like I can move like my event to this week because it's pretty barren. Like there's a higher chance of people it's like, oh well, it's like I didn't have anything planned for next week. But now that there's this event, now I can go to it. And I also want to add that other than the calendar, I I'm thinking maybe do some cards underneath with kind of like a description of the like an image and a description of the event. So like people it's like, oh, it's like I can scroll down and then like read the description. It's like, oh, this interests me. This doesn't interest me. And then just choosing from there.
Yes, sir. And we could streamline this process by basically creating so I think that we're in agreement we need to be moving towards centralized infrastructure as opposed to relying on third-party services for core infrastructure. So building out our own core
Mhm.
infrastructure is always critical. So we could we could build the events. So yeah, we can have admin logins to the site with obviously with permissions to default permissions without having to configure default permissions is if there's a member of a leadership team for a particular group or anything else that gives that they can have admin access to create events in our ecosystem. So the event gets created, and then we can have it. We can have where they can. We can essentially have a drop down where the user gets to select what subgroup. I'm trying not to make this too complicated, but
Mhm.
the user can decide what subgroup that my so we were talking about like we could give we can people access to the Google Calendar with certain access, but that requires a lot of more administrative headache, having to create a well, now we have to create we're gonna have to add them to this particular calendar. That's a lot of work to add on. But what we could do is we could
Mhm.
create so that we start with Orlando devs as the focus. Onboarding is straightforward. We can create a editor user account on the site. So editors
Mhm.
can have permissions to edit um only initially um only their groups. Let's think through this.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like give like a person like Brian or like the people who actually run Odes, like the parent meetup, giving them like full access. And then the individuals that run particular groups just have access to like
Yes,
that
sir.
group and
Yes,
that
sir.
information to that group. So like
So we
people like Brian can have again like full administrative active access and like hey it's like they can add modify or whatever, but then like the smaller groups it's like hey you can only add edit or delete events from your group, but it will still be like good to have like you said that like full calendar so like they can make better decisions on like oh like we should like schedule a meetup. Okay, like this week is pretty booked. I can go to the next week. Like
so
that also kind of like, mhm, go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I did, I guess, but I didn't mean to do it rudely. But anyways, yeah, so we have two main categories of users. We have executive admins, and that's the executive
Hmm.
team for Orlando devs, and they have full and executive admins have and or key developers um have full access to the entire site to make changes, code and otherwise. Then we have a second category, which is event admins.
Hmm.
So we make or not, I'm sorry, group admins. Group admins have access to specific groups um, that they are part of to be able to edit. And by edit, we mean edit their page and add and or modify events.
Yep.
Uh,
I mean, technically we would have three because you also had to include like the user or like the customer or client uh, user base.
right.
So it would be three. It would be kind of like the administrative, then the group, and then the customer,
And
just
I
to
think
give
it,
it like a name.
yeah, and I think it's important. Like, there's a lot of power and value in the approach that we're taking because the last thing anybody needs is to have another user account. It's like, like
Yeah.
an official user account. So we're developing with the framework of idea that anybody can use the site fully and experience Orlando devs fully without actually having a user account. So they can come to the events page, they can see the populated events from they can see all the details for all the events. They can even but the only time they have to do anything as far as interact, as far as providing a two-way data stream between themselves and the site, is if they want to RSVP for an event. Otherwise, they could technically RSS feed the calendar directly to their Google. we'll have the calendar. Then below it will say subscribe to this calendar. Clicking on that adds the iCal gives them the iCal link to integrate into their own calendar if they want to with one click. So that automatically connects to their calendar. So now they don't even have to come to the website. They'll be able to see the calendar on their phone that easily. Then we'll create the first official user class, which would be event admins. I'm sorry, group admins. Group admins can create events. When they create an event, we'll have a form, and that form will have, for simplicity's sake, they will put in the event title, the dates, the times, relevant information, and they'll be able to choose from whatever group that they are admins of. So that drop down will automatically be populated based upon A, the available groups, and B, which groups they have admin access to. Executive admins will have full access to all. So when they use that form to create an event, that drop down will include all subgroups because they'll have full access to
Yeah.
edit all groups. And then
Yeah.
when that form is submitted, we can have it trigger an event creation on the shared Google Calendar, and it will automatically choose the sub calendar that's associated to that group. So we're going to also have to engineer the system so that when a group is created, a sub calendar is also created on the Google Calendar. So executive admins can create new groups, and that new group creation generates a new sub calendar on the group count on Orlando Dev's main calendar. Thereby, we'll completely automate the event creation process, and then we can send out that information via API, potentially through API, to go to automatically to Eventbrite and meetup.com. And I should say or assuming that we can do that, assuming they have the infrastructure in place to be able to receive that information from us. And then the cool thing that does is we only have one. I don't know, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think we have multiple meetups as well, meetup groups that our people have to know about as well. What this allows us to do is have one official Orlando Devs meetup and one official Orlando Devs Eventbrite, and all the information gets automatically pushed to those two sources, or we only have to have one admin login for those two sources, each one of them. And it makes it super easy to have someone on the team to be like, hey, we need to if to whatever manual extent we need to do, hey, an event was created, we're going to have a notification for event creation be sent to group admins and executive admins. And then that notification will either trigger or that process will either trigger automatically through API or manually through a manual standard operating procedure in which, okay, an event was created, added to the Google Calendar, which all happens automatically. Now we need to either somebody or some system now needs to generate those events on the corresponding either meetup or Eventbrite site, which makes it super easy, streamlined process, gets the complication out of it. And then
Yeah. I mean,
and then and we can focus instead of sending people out to Meetup and sending people out to Eventbrite. We This allows us to focus everything inward, keeping people on the site, keeping people actively engaged, and increasing return visitors because we're centralizing the focal point. And I think there's a lot of bottleneck in a lot of organizations uh, that I should say in this regard. A lot of and I know I'm probably talking too much right now, but and you tell me what you think about this, dude. I feel like that when MySpace came out and all this and Facebook, the real power behind that was people could have their own website without having to know how to do any coding. You can have your own web application without any coding, and that's really what the power was behind social media. It was MySpace. You could have your own profile and you could link your domain to it in a time where building a website like that for yourself would be impossible for most people, you know. But we kind of lost.
Yeah.
I feel like society, civilization has lost our way in this regards, and people now are relying on these third-party applications. Meet in our example, Meetup and Eventbrite. We're relying on these applications. Unfortunately, that puts us at their mercy too. So
Yeah.
we have a real opportunity here to turn that around and build inward first, and then just use those as external resources for what they are, external third party resources, just to help spread the message and that kind of stuff. Um, anyways, that's a lot to
Yeah. I
say,
mean,
but I think that seems like a pretty good idea, and I think those steps would be good. I'm gonna take the transcript. By the way, I take the transcription from this video, and I'm going to ingest it in the AI engine for the group. So and then we can build out a roadmap for everything we're talking about here.
sounds good.
So with all that said, let's let's open up the hood a little bit.
All right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna keep on working on this today. I'm gonna do like the sponsor, like this is kind of like the hero section of it. I just need to do like the sponsor section here, which I kind of trying to come up with ideas to display the sponsors that like they'll be pretty excited to
Well,
have their like their
we can do a
basically their logo here.
we can create we can do a similar process that we're doing with the events with the sponsors. So when a sponsor is onboarded, that's a group admin or an executive. I'm sorry, and yeah, a group admin or an executive admin could create a sponsor as well. So we can have it so that that's an option. Or no,
Yeah, I
we'll
mean
make
I was gonna
executive admins would do that. Would basically so if we have a sponsor, an executive admin, we could create a form where we can intake a new sponsor, upload logo, upload bio or description, upload contact information, and then we can have the system. Then we that can generate a sponsor page automatically, and then we can feed the logo directly into a sponsor's logo feed. So maybe like a side scroll or which seems
yeah. I mean I was thinking like a carousel almost thing, like where you could like click on. But I for the hero section, so like the main page, I kind of want it to be a little bit more static. That way, like whenever like sponsors are more likely to like um sponsor the ODS just because like if you have a carousel, the only thing is like if someone's scrolling down and like they're doing it quickly and like their name doesn't appear at that time, it's like, oh well, I'm not really getting any like traffic, but having all those sponsors kind of like displayed at once makes more sense. Just for like the hero section, like I was thinking about doing like a sponsor tab where I'm gonna create like a card with like the sponsor, like a link to their website, and just kind of like a brief description of what they do or what they're about. And that way, like people can like if they want to like dive deeper into the sponsor, like they can have more information there
so
instead of like.
instead of
Mhm.
creating an individual page for the sponsor, an executive admin could fill out a form to and that will automatically generate a card that gets dropped on the homepage.
Yeah,
Perfect.
And I mean, it can also like that same information can be like sent over to the like full sponsor page and just have it like whenever they create the new sponsor, it populates in the homepage and that sponsor page.
in the card.
And pretty much like because you can just like
Perfect.
as long as you can get the information from like I'm probably just gonna do like a basic JSON file
Yeah.
with their information and whatever and just do like a query or not a query. Yeah, basically, I just gonna do like a asynchronous function to just get the information and do a map function through it.
Yeah.
By populating those
Drop a
cards, it's
logo.
gonna be yeah. So
Drop a
like that way,
logo with
like
like
it's simply
with a click with a view more button takes them to the sponsors page, and on the sponsors page, the sponsor can
yeah.
have more information if they want. Like we can create an onboarding process, and actually, truth be told, is we could create an automated process for sponsors to come on board. So we can have a sponsorship, like a click here to become a sponsor. They click there,
Mhm.
opens up a form. They can we can have like sponsorship categories. So maybe like 3 tiers of sponsorship, and it comes with different things. So like we can have like uh, a primary sponsorship area that has like a larger featured, almost like what you have here, a featured sponsorship uh,
Mhm.
section, and then we could have like a second. Well, let's do 2 tiers. Then we can have a second tier, which would be a carousel that would have second tier sponsors, and that just kind of scrolls across. So something that's not that's gonna not gonna like take away from the function of the site, but provide real value to the users who are wanting to see who the sponsors are, and it provides some value added for sponsors too. So hey, look, here's a section that has, you get like a premium section as an example, um,
Mhm.
with a featured image and or logo, uh, or a featured image with your logo, however you want to do that, plus a little description like we have here. Then we have a kind of second tier sponsor that would be on the carousel, but all of which would have their own sponsorship pages that would get that integrated into the site. And we can have them provide the information so admins don't have to. So we'll create a click here to become a sponsor. That takes them to a form, and uh that form gets their information, their business name, address, business phone number, website, social media links, all that kind of information. Plus we can integrate payment processing so they can check out online immediately. We have a $50 sponsorship per month and $100 sponsorship per month or something like that. So that goes toward, and then we can utilize those funds that go towards building out our cloud infrastructure for a site, uh, because it would be really cool to build in an AI with an AI first approach. We could actually build all the content on the site on the homepage to be dynamically generated per user. So, as an example, featured business, right? Let's say there's a featured business for, um, you know, uh, taco stands. Well,
Mhm.
we could have the site in the future, assuming we can build out the proper infrastructure. We could build a site so that maybe generate some of the content gets live generated for that user, and we can use like Facebook and Google Pixel to collect data. But we can have like a standard format that we have that gets provided by the client, by the sponsor, but then we can have some of the content generate dynamically based upon the user that's coming to the site. So these are concepts on the road, but by automating the sponsorship process, that takes out workload off the admin teams, um, and we don't have to collect information. The information gets populated automatically, pushed directly to the site. Of course, we will need like a approval process. So we will need to have like we're going to have like an email notification to was just we can just do it to the executive admin team. So
Mhm.
or some type of yeah, email notification would make sense. So email notification goes to admin team for review of sponsorship information. And so somebody just has to check it and approve it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking like doing like the sponsor, like kind of like the groups tab here, where like, because instead of like, oh, become a sponsor, sponsor page or whatever, I can just do sponsors and then it's like view sponsors and then like become a sponsor. And then that way it can take you to like either the page of the full sponsors or like if you want to become the sponsor, you can just click on that and it takes you directly to that form that you were talking about.
Yeah, so if we click on sponsor, it'll just take us to a full listing of all the sponsors in like a directory format. So we can almost do like a Pinterest
Mhm.
style. So, like we could have those cards automatically populate the sponsors page. So same exact
Mhm.
cards in the front, but we'll put them on the sponsors page and do Pinterest style. So just kind of like stacked. Somehow organize it based upon we could have an AI search bar where let's say there's like 40 or 50 sponsors. Well, there could be a search bar like, what are you looking for? You know, type in what I'm looking
Yeah.
for and have and use an API call to uh, access the available sponsors and generate specified cards in correspondence to what the client's looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, yeah, having like more accessibility for the sponsors is definitely gonna benefit um the group. Like obviously like the more sponsors and not only that, like having more sponsors kind of like get more involved with the website like maybe for like job opportunities. So like, hey, it's like these are like cool companies to work for. So like it can benefit both the sponsors and the users because like users can be like, oh, it's like I see this company. Oh, it's local. Oh, they're hiring. Or oh, hey, what are they all about? Oh, I really want to get to like know them better.
We should
So like
100.
get their more exposure.
We should hunt. Yeah, correct. We should 100% have a job boards page. 100%. And we can
Yeah, I
and we
just
can and we can actually figure out a way to make it focus on making it a quality job board. So I just need to
yeah.
kind of throw that out there. But yeah, we okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as like the sponsors page only, I was thinking kind of like something like this format. So like having like their logo here and then like their name and then just having like their description here and then like you can do like a visit website or whatever.
Mhm.
So were you thinking kind of like this style more?
I was thinking more kind of like I like that a lot, don't get me wrong. Let me see
Mhm.
here. Let me share screen. Uh you can see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. We wouldn't need this necessarily, but I think that
Mhm.
no, that's not what I was thinking. Is this Pinterest shopping? Is that what this is? All right.
I think so.
Let's see here. Mm, something like this, maybe. Well, that's probably not a good example, but yeah, something between the two. Like I was thinking, like having cards that kind of stack. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I can do something
and we I think
like,
we could do a very similar thing. We can have a search bar at the top, so we can have all the sponsorships stacked. Because like a premium sponsor
mhm,
will get a larger image. The second tier will get a
mhm.
smaller image with less details. And then we'll have an
Yeah.
we'll have,
So,
we can utilize AI, an AI first search tool, which will, users can scroll or they can hit a quick search what they're looking for. Just say, what are you looking for? Or
yeah, I mean, as far as like the search capability goes, like this was pretty easy to do, just like running like a filter function to like just filter out whatever you need like through the website, and it kind of like renders it pretty quickly. But yeah, for like the sponsor like on the main page, I was thinking doing kind of like a card like this with their logo, and then like kind
detail.
of, yeah, pretty similar to this. I mean, like their name, and then like, hey, like, yeah, view like sponsor, or like learn more, and then just clicking it here. But like these are pretty easy to stack down low, and just like you can make them whatever size you want.
Yeah, maybe we can do like a premium would be like a half page width, and then
Hmm.
lower tier we could do like five across in a carousel format right underneath it. So
Yeah,
have yeah, I mean something like that.
yeah,
Plus we can have a small description as well for the premiums. They get a small description. The smaller tier will just get an image carousel. So it's just image with uh their name and well, but we can have a small description on the larger cards. Nothing crazy.
okay.
200, maybe 200 characters or less.
Hmm.
So when we onboard and you sponsor on the form, we'll need to have them generate their own description and their own excerpt description.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be better for them to write it, because I mean, they know their company better than like the dev that's gonna
Correct.
maybe put it up. So yeah, definitely have the okay. So I'll also start working on that. Yeah, just kind of like giving myself.
Yeah, this is awesome. So the I think that what you're showing right now for the landings, the hero header you have is that the right term?
Mhm. Yeah.
The hero header you have, the that looks amazing. We I probably would let's I think right there would be an awesome spot to be like learn more about get we can invite people to the Slack. So in order to get the Slack invite, we'll have an email input form. So get in,
Yeah.
request an invitation to join our Slack. Put we'll have an email address form filled, submission, and then we can use that to build
Mhm.
our mailing list. And then
Yeah. So
we can trigger an event where they get an automatic reply that includes a link to Slack.
okay. Yeah. I mean,
But
like I just had the joiner.
actually, I think there's a Slack form that we have to request a Slack.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is um we don't need a form there. We can just put a button to go to that the Slack. Say join our Slack community, and then that will take them to the Slack join the Slack form which collects their information.
Yeah. So as of right now, I just have it up here because I kind of wanted to give this kind of like a little bit like cleaner look. And I feel like if you go through and like you repeat yourself, like that's why I took out like the original Orlando devs. Here, I'll show you.
Yeah, yeah, I see. You don't want them to get distracted, but you don't want them to. It's. I think it's important for us to have a clear call to action on every scene. So I think
Hmm.
that it wouldn't hurt to have that like more like to keep it up. That's awesome to have it up there. But I think having a button below that a community of developers for developers, just having a simple button there is a clear call to action because we want them to get connected into the community. That's really that's really our goal to connect them, and that and right and Slack is our primary capabilities for doing that. So it probably wouldn't hurt to
Yeah,
have it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, this takes like putting that button there takes like 5 seconds. So yeah, I can do that too. And it's like, I don't know what the wording.
The layout, the design is spectacular. Like honestly, like
Yeah,
this is awesome. Um, do you want to?
yeah. So I just,
You know what?
mhm, go ahead.
Why don't we do this for this particular video? Why don't you add
Mhm.
you want to add a button now
Yeah, let
and
me
talk
just
and kind of
go
talk us
and
kind of talk us through the process that you're going through as you're doing it, and then this will be helpful for developers who are wanting to learn how to contribute to the application itself.
yeah. So let's see here. So right now, I'm also using Daisy UI and Tailwinds. So let's see here. I don't need that. I don't need that. Need that. Don't need that. I need the header. So I have it broken up here to the components. So reusable components like the event cards. I need to do a sponsored card so that way it can populate the main page. Then I have the main layout, which is what you see here at the top and the bottom, just the transition of color and just having every page is going to have the same nav bar and the same footer. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Orlando devs here. Daisy UI. So since I'm using Daisy UI, they already have the components for like pretty much the hero section. So gonna copy and paste something here. So here we go. Oh, right here, do this, put it here, and now get started. I can switch it out to
Join us on Slack.
then here we go. Then I can probably do some tailwind modifications like fun primary. I can do PG transparent, and you can also eliminate that. But I think the
I think it looked better before probably, but
other,
that's awesome.
yeah. So there we go. And
That's
then I can probably change the opacity a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it gives good contrast
so
right here. Or maybe I can actually also add this little
icon.
React icon here. So I just need to import it on top. Here, that's Slack icons, and then I can do it right here. A Slack. So closing. And here we go. And then I can do the color. So do class. wait, this one's, see here. This will be style here. I can do uh color. Let's do be a string. Let's do Spotman. And here we go.
Phenomenal. That's awesome. So how so what's the what where are you at right now as far as um what are some things we need to focus on right now from your end?
So, like I was saying earlier, my focus for today is gonna be finishing the sponsor section down here. So now, like, I'm gonna do basically like our how would you word it, like our feature sponsors for like the top tier sponsor, and then um more sponsors for like the bottom tier, and then just doing like the bigger cards for like the feature sponsors, and then I'm gonna, like right now, I'm gonna use all the like the current sponsors as the like the featured or top tier sponsors, and then I'm just gonna like generate some miscellaneous like imaginary sponsors just to kind of like fill in so like people have an idea
Right.
of how it's gonna look.
Do we have
So, but yeah, definitely. Mhm.
we probably should have a section on that streamlines onboarding process for people who are wanting to get involved as well. So, like walk people through the logic of how to become a contributor to Orlando Devs. Uh,
Okay.
and that could include sponsorship information, becoming a sponsor, becoming an executive admin, becoming a group admin, um, creating groups, these types of concepts, kind of like so like you have your hero header, move down to section, which would be premium sponsor. Then we would go to our community. Then we would have carousel with sponsors, standard sponsors,
Mhm.
carousel. Then we could have a get connect become a contributor section. And
Mhm.
that can move into we can have that link to a readme on our or yeah, I think that we can push that to we can pull the data from the readme. We can have a readme that we have in our repository that and we can pull information from the readme directly. No,
Mhm.
maybe. But maybe we could pull that could pull information from the README, and then basically the README has detail. Basically, we engineer the README to automatically guide users directly into the contribution pipeline. So, and by contribution, it kind of initializes them. It gets them started with the count with first getting connected to the repository. We need to move people into the contribution pipeline is involvement, interaction. So people come in for resources. We can have a section with a feed from the job board with top jobs
Mhm.
or most recent job postings. So that can be under community. So under community, we have standard sponsors. Then we would have under that we could have a feed from the job board with like top five most recent job postings. Click more to view all jobs, and then we can have it just a. Then we can build a. Initially, we would just have a listing of jobs and with basic search features. Um, but the logic on some of that, because we'll talk about that another time. But then we,
Yeah. So as of right now, like my goal for I would say like the end of this week is just having kind of like a skeleton of how the website is gonna look like. And then like the more people like the rest of the group that is in the refresh, like then they can start adding like all the other features that we're talking about, like connecting to like the calendar, having the authorization of the users and like creating like the like admin like users, the sponsor users, the regular users and the group users. So as of right now, like I'm just trying to get like everything kind of like all like the shell completed, and then we can come back and just like start like adding more features. But like as like I also want to make it responsive. So as of right now, like if I like
yeah.
go down, see how it doesn't respond. So I'm thinking like once it gets to a certain width, it's just gonna convert this into like a little like hamburger menu. And that way like people like it looks good like on phone or
What do you think
on
about what do you think about the idea of when it goes to mobile view, logo, leave the logo
Mhm,
at the top, centered, and then
mhm.
we can have uh, and then we move the menu down. The menu drops down to the bottom, but instead of text, it goes to buttons. So we have 5 buttons at the bottom, and we don't use a hamburger menu at all. So,
Yeah, I mean,
so
like at the bottom of like so like once this goes down, like just basically create like almost like another like nav bar and just move all the like all this down here or all these all the way down here.
yeah, so we make it a let's see here. Uh, I mean, I'm thinking, something like this. So we give it a UI experience, basically. So basically, we have 5 buttons at the bottom, um, within our application, and a logo bar at the top. And in the logo bar, we can have 2 buttons on the left and right. We can create like a left and right button that could have like one could be like events, and then the other one could be. Well, actually, hold on. What do we not have covered right now? Can you scroll to the top?
Yeah.
So we can at the bottom have, or not necessarily 5 buttons, or maybe we keep the button. Yeah, we can have the logo at the top, not sticky,
Hmm.
and then we can have. Oh, we can make both menus sticky. So both menus will be sticky. The bottom will have we can utilize up to 5 buttons for whatever we want to use it for. So we might not need 5 buttons. We might just need um and the logo can just be a top. Maybe just some ideas. I don't know. I I find the hamburgers are just many people don't even know how to use them. They don't see them, they don't understand them.
Yeah.
So many people just don't have any clue of how to even use a hamburger function. Especially, and we can. It really wouldn't take up too much real estate to have a small little sticky button bar at the bottom, only for mobile view.
Yeah. see
So
here.
we just create a whole different experience, user experience on mobile view by just swapping out, by just moving the nav bar to the bottom.
Yeah, so this is the UI library that I'm using, Daisy.
Yep.
So like there's multiple like menus, like basically this would look pretty good for like a mobile, just kind of like minimizing it, but there's also like the nav bar here. So like you can have like the parent if one, and then you can just like have this like instead of saying parent, it's like menu, and then you can click this, go all the way down. So I like this
Oh, that's
just because it's a little bit more like I say, it's a
100%.
little bit more intuitive.
Yeah.
Like having the title here, and then like
Perfect.
instead of parent again, like you can put like all the sub menus or whatever.
Yeah.
So that would clean
Oh,
everything up,
yeah.
and it
Yeah.
would definitely simplify. Um, like it would definitely simplify going back and forth and like having like the menu like
Facts.
stick all the way at the bottom. Like
So,
once it like gets to a certain size, it's like menu and that's it.
yeah, basically we just moved to using icons instead of text on the mobile view, you know, if we can.
Yeah.
So or simplify the text. I think having text, but I think having clearly defined buttons is on mobile is critical. You know, part of our design work. Whatever we end up doing, it needs to be very intuitive, and we need to have clearly defined boundaries on buttons. Um, but
And like I said, that's why I like this like the Daisy UI, just because like it's pretty much like a copy and paste for that. So like I can be like, hey, like and give it like a as in a function that if the window size it goes below this, then switch to this menu like header,
100%.
and then I can
Um,
just do it.
so I think this is a good place to leave it for now. I'm going to save this video and I'm going to upload it just as literally in its entirety to a private video, and then I'll share that to the group so that they can follow along to today's meeting. And then we can. I think this, like this is going to be critical for us to continue this. I think this right here has taken us light years ahead of where we've been already in many respects. So I think like I personally I applaud you for the work you put in. This is absolutely amazing. Um, so maybe we can do the next video we can do maybe a small contributors guide where we can go through how to contribute to the application and
Mhm.
kind of make that our next focus. And then we have in this video laid out kind of a generalized roadmap. We can generate a I'll take the transcript and we'll generate a clearly defined roadmap based upon our discussions. And then in our next meeting, we can do a contributors guide and then walk through the roadmap.
Sounds good.
So amazing work, man. This is you're awesome. Um, so this is really cool.
Thank you, man.
This is
Hey,
we're moving in a good direction with this for sure.
yeah, I mean, I figured no one had pulled the trigger, so might as well be
Awesome.
the one. So,
Awesome. Very cool. Um, do you want to is there do you want to share like uh anything you want to share that you want me to attach this video, any links or anything like that that you might want to include, just send them to me between now
mhm.
and the end of the day if you can, and then I will include that in the description in the video, and then I'll generate the generalized roadmap based upon what we're working on, and then I'll create a message for the team that will outline our conversation in this video, kind of core concepts of roadmap and the concepts of what we're working on. And then I'll also go ahead and set up our next team meeting, and we can at that point go through a contributor's guide, walk through the back end, do some improvements,
Mhm.
um, and then dive into the roadmap.
Yeah. I mean, so for those links, do you just want me to kind of like include like what like a libraries I've been using and just kind of like
Anything,
what
anything
all
you
the
feel,
components?
anything you would be feel that you think would be helpful for this point. I'm not sure if you're planning
Mhm.
on hosting the repository on your repository, if we need to find a centralized location for that, and think through that process. Um, at some point.
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I was just saying that in that can be a bridge we cross as we go as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, like I have this all in like my own private repo, and I'm probably gonna like just to kind of like show Brian and the rest of the people, I can deploy it on Vercel and just kind of like host it there. And then if everyone's liking where we're going and like approves it, then I can just do a pull request from the repo that we already created, and then I can pretty much like download the dependencies and like all these like components or whatever. It's just like a simple copy and paste of these, and then I could just transfer it over to like the main repo, and then that way everyone has access to it.
100%. And if there's any videos you want to like make videos while you're editing and explaining theory, and concepts and
Mhm.
working on it, that would be super helpful too, just to for us to continuously build our training pipeline. Um, so,
Okay.
but man, you have a good day. I'm gonna jump off here, take care of a couple of things, and then I'll get this video put together as well as any information you send me and today's transcript, combined it, and then push it out to the team.
Mhm.
Them on progress.
Sounds good.
Awesome. You have a good one.
You too.
God, stop.